All right, the next item that does require committee action is repositioning of trespassing signs to apply to the terrace of the east entrance of MLK Jr. Boulevard doors of the city-county building.
So, my name is Dan Lowndes. I'm the risk manager for Dane County. What I'm here to talk about is about the behavior that's evidenced on the MLK side of the building. Complaints from city-county employees, complaints from visitors to the city-county building about the smell, public urination, public defecation, the physical evidence of drinking, the bottles that we find, the litter that we find, the reports of drug use on the porch. When I went to the Madison Police Department to find a solution, they suggested that we turn the signs. Right now the signs are facing the lobby. If we reposition them or add new signs, just 8.5 by 11 signs like this, to face the window, face the street, the MPD would be able to enforce the hours that are posted on the outside of the building, not just on the inside of the building. With me today is Jim Reamer. He's one of our facilities management staff. He can answer questions about the extent of the litter and what happens on Monday morning.
And at first it wasn't so bad, but as time went on, it just got to be a total disaster as far as basically trying to clean the deck outside this morning. I think everybody knows the immediate details of. Dan talked about Monday morning. The trash, the liquor bottles. We have 2 trash receptacles outside, and they're that high up over. There is human feces. There's urine smells that they're soaked into the cement. They're around the memorial benches. They're around the flagpole. You can't stand to stay around that area for more than a couple of minutes. It's just disgusting. I have lifted bags out of the trash can and been sprayed in the face with urine. The drinking is just awful. It's been better the past few months since we started making some of the troublemakers be more responsible and banning them from the building for a while. That's a step that helped. I do believe that the outside deck is not a place to have an evening campground. Up until recently, there was no toilet facilities. Now there's one porta potty, but that's just not a place to go camp. And they block the doors at night. We have people living in this building, in detention, in the jail. If a disaster was to happen, that could be a problem. I can't believe that the fire department wouldn't even be willing to address that because the doors just get locked. People are just laying in front of them all night long. Weekends, they just party. I remember one time a couple years ago, a gentleman on a Friday left his wallet in one of the men's room in the building, and one of the homeless people found it. They just partied like heck all weekend on somebody else's dime. So I am for this proposal of turning the signs outward. I'm speaking mostly for myself. I'm not a representative per se of facilities management. My boss couldn't be here tonight. And so I'm here basically on my own.
So you've been threatened or you've been verbally harassed. Have you reported that either to MPD or what's the protocol when an incident does occur?
Okay, most of the time, if it's just talk, other than letting my boss know, I just kind of assort it. I did have an incident 3 to 4 weeks ago, I'm not sure of the date, where I asked one of the homeless guys who was reading the State Journal outside the building at 7:30 in the morning. I asked him a yes or no question, which was, It's that paper you're reading, it's that one that was on the counter down on the ground floor intended for juvenile detention. We have had problems with people stealing the papers every day. And when I asked some of the homeless people up there, this man's name kept coming up 2 or 3 times as one of the people who would help themselves to the papers. Well, he got really mad. First he denied it. Then he said, well, I could have it back. He was done reading it. Then when he stood up and he missed custody all along, he poked me. And then that's where I draw the line. I'm not going to let anybody touch me. And the county does supply me with a cell phone. So I did call 911. In that case, I believe is coming up. The gentleman was, I believe, was arrested for disorderly conduct. I've been around since 1972, and we have always had homeless people around this building. And never, ever, ever has it been like it's been the last 3 years. And I hear from the office people all the time, when's something going to be done? And I have a stock answer. I always say, 2 weeks after one of the homeless people stabbed me, there'll be another meeting.
What impact has the porta potty had on cleanliness around the building? It's been there like, what, 2, 3 weeks now?
Yeah, it's been there at least 2 weeks. I would say it's a step in the right direction. When I first heard about it, I kind of brushed it aside. It's just something that I didn't believe would work, but I believe it has. There's still urine being left around the flagpole. Every once in a while, including today, I still find small amounts of human waste. However, in the past 2 weeks too, there has been a homeless dog running around the building at night, so that could be a part of that too. I think it is a step in the right direction. I'm willing to concede now that it is a good thing.
I think you said that you thought that the problems had reduced somewhat in the last few weeks.
Well,
I thought I heard you say that.
Okay.
I just wanted to clarify.
it has, in my opinion, since the first of the year when we started banning people, and it's mostly people who were having incidents with drinking and causing problems in the lobby, but those people not in the building anymore, it's not as bad as it was. I even believe that the smells coming from the first floor benches aren't quite as bad.
Along with this repositioning of the signs that you support, are there any other methods that you'd like to see implemented that you think would improve the situation? Anything that you've talked about with other staff? Or?
Well, I do know that they have cameras up, and sometimes I like to see them in a little more strategic locations. When I talked about earlier about the people taking the detention papers, I don't believe that that's on camera. They're on a shelf down by the property room, and I don't think that's being covered, so you really can't say who's doing it.
Could you tell us, you said there have been people, essentially living or at least staying overnight on this deck for many years. What's changed? Do you think it's the number of people, or do you think it's people's behavior, or a little of both?
Before, they used to congregate on ground floor inside the building. We had gates up so they couldn't get to the elevators. The elevators were turned off, and they couldn't move much more past where the coffee shop was. I think we had, I'm not sure if I'm going to say this right, I think the police helped us a little more in those days. I know the restrictions they have now. I'm not really sure. There probably wasn't as many.
So what's before us is moving a sign.
Yes.
So we move a sign, what happens?
Well, again, MPD has told me that they're not comfortable enforcing the signs. When we're saying the signs, is this city county building, this is when we're open, this is when we're closed. When we're closed, they're not comfortable enforcing the closure sign unless people can see it. unless you're properly notified. So it'd be in the window, and then they would be able to enforce it. Since this would be a change, there'd be a period of education, telling folks that this has happened, that the sign's there, that means you can't be here when you're closed. And then after that, enforcement.
So just to clarify, we're adding basically the deck to the area of the building that is closed after hours?
Correct.
Okay, so nobody's gonna be allowed on the deck
After
after
hours.
hours is closed?
Correct. Well, it would be from the doors to the sidewalk, around the building.
Anywhere that's on the building property?
So not just at the top of the stairs, but.
Correct.
Include the
Right.
stairs.
Correct.
Any place that's not the public right of way?
Correct.
And for the most part, the vast majority of them, and there's no like, concrete numbers of this, but the vast majority have been in the Madison area for an extended time. They're known to the service providers. The homeless shelter system is challenging in that there's men's shelters and women's shelters, and there are couples that are on the street that have no place to go as a couple. They have to separate and go to different shelters. So that is just one of many issues related to the shelter system out there.
Do you feel that the encampment at the City County building provides an enabling environment?
I don't, from an enabler, I don't think it offers necessarily solutions to the homeless issue. And in that, it kind of perpetuates the issue, whether it be that there's a lack of housing, single occupancy housing, shelter systems, outreach workers, the different programs, all, factoring from different angles to help and resolve the issue. So, to an extent, yes, it does enable, but the mere fact that it's a place where there are kind of a free-for-all as far as what takes place in general. We're only able to respond and have staff there as we can when time allows, but we don't have the capacity to be there 24/7, 365. So typically we respond to we periodically monitor the area and respond to serious calls for incidents.
How often do you respond to a City County building or a municipal building? Is it weekly, daily, monthly?
It varies. We respond weekly to the buildings in this kind of area, to include the municipal building, the City County building, the jail, and the courthouse, the governmental buildings in that stretch. The CCB has tended to be, over the last several years, the higher calls for service related to behavioral issues. This committee is well aware of the things you approved and put in place as far as the ban and the rules, which were designed to help the situation. And they have, by clearly defining rules and expectations that people have to follow. And then the ban process has I think, significantly addressed a core group of individuals that were creating a dangerous environment and were engaged in activities that, my number's right, there's currently 6 people that are banned for 6 months, which it's not you get banned for the first time you do something wrong, it's a progression. So these people have repeatedly violated the rules, and some in a violent manner, which they've risen to that 6 month, which is a very serious role. Ban takes place in being banned. So that has helped in the situation. And as was described, there was testimony that there always have been homeless transient people in and around the City County building. And what we're hearing from staff, from workers, from the public is that the capacity that of the homeless transient that are here now is at such a point where it's reached a breaking point. And the place was never meant to house 30 or 40 people on a given night. With that, you get all the things you would expect with trash and defecation where there's not capacities to manage those. So I also think you've heard that we didn't come with other solutions, and there's countless other committees looking at other solutions to try to resolve these issues, and we have no silver lining here of what that solution would be. We're addressing the concerns and complaints from city and county staff on how to better make this building safer for staff and the public that use it.
Dan, you talked about an education period, I guess you could call it a transition period, if this were approved, repositioning the signs. Do you have sort of a timeline as to how you'd see that fall into place? And
MPD is talked about 3, 4, 7 days, depending on, it's very similar to when the committee approved the building rules changed. Just working, being rational, being reasonable, and working with folks.
Is there a way to apply the same kinds of rules about behavior rather than simply kicking everybody off the?
In theory, yes, but in practical reality, there's
There's nobody to do that, is
Correct.
what you're saying.
yes.